Hi guys, Evan from Atlantic Outboard here. Welcome to our digital delivery on this 2022 Robalo R242. Today I'm going to walk you through all the features and benefits as well as the systems on this boat so you really get familiar with how to use it. First things first, let's talk about our swim ladder, okay? One of the most important features it seems our customers like on boats nowadays. What I love about this Garlic ladder, okay, is it's always easy to pull out even when you're in the water, okay? So a lot of manufacturers have ladders that fold out the top. The problem with that is when you're in the water, it makes it very difficult to get to it if you forget to put it out beforehand. The benefit to this is that if you jump in the water and forget it's out or fall in unintentionally, you can still access it. So how that works is you pull this little pin up, this whole thing slides out, comes down like so, and you have two things that fold out and you have 3 steps on each side, okay? Makes boarding from the water super easy. The best part is it's really easy to put back in. You simply go like this, slide it back up, fold it in like so, and you're good to go, okay? Another great feature on this model is it comes standard with trim tabs, but what you'll notice is the hull is built-in molded so that they don't stick out past the edge of the hull, right? So you can see they're flush with the back of the boat, okay? So you're not gonna step on it by accident when you're fishing, your line's not gonna hit it by accident, so really, really smart design and cool feature from Robalo. Getting up into the boarding platform area, okay? We have our freshwater shower right here, okay? So if you're swimming and you get rinse off, pull that out, rinse yourself off. You need to have the freshwater switch on, which we'll discuss once we get up to the helm area, okay? In the center between the two motors is our freshwater fill, okay? Simply unscrew that with your hand. You fill it up until the water comes out the top. All right, use your dockside water for that. Off to the port side, a couple things I want to point out. Number one is right here, you'll see this cap off here. Okay, that is your holding tank pump out. All right, so if your boat has the electric head option with a holding tank and you want to get it pumped out by your marina or gas station, etc., okay, that's right here. All right, so it's got a little symbol on it so you can tell exactly it's that. Unscrew that, hook the hose up to it, begin the suction, and that should pump out the rest of your holding tank. Another thing I want to point out on the port side is this right here. Okay, this plug, all right, this is our battery charger plug. So why would you use a battery charger? People ask that all the time, are your engine's batteries supposed to charge your house batteries? Yes, they do. However, if you go out in the boat on Friday and you forget to turn the batteries off, okay, and you left your stereo on, you come down Saturday morning and the batteries are dead, okay, what you would do is simply plug it into your dock, okay, let it sit for a couple hours, and that's going to charge all your batteries up so everything will get running smoothly again. Okay, behind our boarding door, if we want to shut our boarding door, we simply lift up on it, fold forward, and that locks in place. Okay, behind here is our battery switch, okay? Battery switch panel, important panel. We have a few breakers on here, which is all labeled. So we have our stereo breaker, our toilet breaker, and our auto bilge breaker. If there's any other important breakers like a helm breaker or a windlass breaker, those are down there as well, okay? Now battery switch is super easy on this model. It's on or off, that's it. Okay, so off is in the up position, on is one click over. All right, one nice thing about Robalo's battery system process is they have something called an emergency parallel. All right, what you do is if you come down and your house and your engine batteries are low, okay, and it's not enough juice to really get them started, what you could do is you come down one more click, okay, and now what that does is it combines all the batteries. All right, so it takes all the juice from all those batteries and puts it towards those engines to get them up and running. All right, so that might save your weekend one time if you come down and don't have power on your dock to plug in your battery charger. Try that first, it could save you a lot of time. When you're done for the day, you're gonna shut the batteries off and you're good to go. Your bilge pump, okay, in the stern of the boat is hardwired to the battery, meaning that even with the battery switch off, your auto bilge pump will still work. So no need to fret if you got some inclement weather coming and you don't need to leave your battery switch on. You leave that off, bilge pump will still work. Stern area on the 242. On this model, our stock boat, we have the optional cup rod holder combination. So if you could see those, you have a rod holder and a cup holder, okay, one on each side, port and starboard side. We have our standard live well right here with a clear lid that's in the transom. There's a secondary live well in the bow we'll talk about in a minute, but here is our live well, okay. We have an insulated cooler and or fish box right here with a drain that drains overboard, okay. Again, really nice feature. A lot of you guys know this, it's a pretty signature seat from Robalo. This part flips up like so, seat folds down, makes it really comfortable, nice and wide, you can fit a lot of people on it. Okay, really nice design. Okay guys, the mechanical space on the R242, this section lifts up right here, Nice and easy. It's got 2 gas assist shocks on each side. All right, now let's talk about what's going on down here. Our live well and our fish box are insulated. We have a 13.5 gallon fresh water tank, which is what you can see right here. That black box under there, that is our holding tank, okay, for our wastewater from the head compartment. That holds 8 gallons. Under here, this is our standard battery charger. Okay, so we talked about that earlier. That switch is over there, or that plug, excuse me, is in the back of the boats, but that's where the actual battery charger is. We have our fresh water pump off to the live well pump off to the port side, and starboard side here is our fresh water pump. You can see our 2 batteries go right here. Nice easy access to everything. We also have access to our ladder from the backside right here if you ever want to access it that way. Now, one thing I want to point out, which is new for 2022, is how these lock into place now, okay? If you see right here where my left hand is, all right, you have to push this lever forward, okay, to prevent the thing from, so you can lock it down. If you don't do it, it won't lock. It won't shut, excuse me. You have to go like that. Use 2 hands, then it locks in place. Nice safety feature on this model. Starboard corner in the cockpit of this boat, a couple things I wanted to point out. Number one is your reel protectors right here. Okay, so what that's for is if your rod and reels are in the horizontal storage spaces on the port or starboard side, you'll see these foam pads right here. Okay, you put the butt of your rod in that hole right here. All right, and that's there so to protect your reels and to protect the boat from the metal of the reels banging them back and forth, okay? Another nice feature on this model is tow rails, okay? What that's for is when you're fishing, your feet lock into there, so it's a safety thing in case it gets rough or you get a big fish that wants to pull you over. Really cool feature there as well. If you notice in the deck drains, okay, there's no hose reduction size on this model on the deck drain hoses, so whatever water goes in there goes right out. All right, so you know, really, it's another safety thing. Another cool feature I want to point out is up underneath the gunnel right here. That is where your flush out for your ladder is. Okay, so remember that ladder, right? You pull a pin, it pops out. Well, if you want to rinse all the salt water out of there, you can easily do so. You take your hose, hook it in that compartment up there, let it rinse for a couple minutes, and gets all that salt out of there. The console on the Robalo R242 allows for a ton of room for electronics, so this model doesn't have the factory installed SIM rad on it. Sometimes we elect not to get the electronics in case a customer wants a different brand, but we can do that here in-house at any time. We have 2 sets of switches on each side of the console, okay, so I'm going to run through them really quick. So we have our horn button, obviously is your audible horn. We have an aft bilge button. Again, the bilge pump has a float switch on it, so it automatically deploys. However, if you wanted to do a manual override and use the bilge pump, even though the float switch has not activated, you could do so. This button right here is our nav and anchor light. Obviously, our nav lights are the red and green ones in the bow. Anchor light is a short one on top to use when you're anchoring. Okay, spreader lights are up here. We have 1 in the front, 2 in the back. Okay, they're LEDs, they're adjustable. Okay, if you want to use those, just hit the button on there. Curt lights, or it says courtesy lights on the switch right here. Those are blue LEDs along the deck of the boat, so at nighttime, dusk, or in the morning, it really lights up the floor and doesn't blind you when you're trying to drive. We have our live well light right here, and if this boat does not have it, but it has the option for underwater lights, if you wanted those, or we can add it here at the dealership, that's where we would power it right there. Off to the port side, we have our live well buttons. Okay, so it's 1 button for both live wells. However, each one has a little ball valve switch on the nozzle on each live well if you wanted to turn that off and use it for a cooler in lieu of a live well, but use the other one. We have our washdown hose right here, or excuse me, button right here for your freshwater washdown. We have a freshwater switch right here as well. So if you want your freshwater to work for your head compartment, you have to have that switch on right there. Electronics, okay, button is right here. All right, so when we do power the electronics up to the boat, that'll be the main power source for them right there. Trim tabs, this boat comes standard with trim tabs we talked about earlier to put power to those trim tabs so they will work and work with the corresponding switches. We hit that button right there. One of the last buttons we have on the port side is the accessory switch, so if you guys were to add an option down the road, we would simply power that button for like a spotlight or things like that. Last button I want to talk about on the port side of the dash is the windlass button. Okay, you can control the windlass from the bow or from here, up and down, pretty easy, and the same buttons are up on the bow of the boat as well. We have our standard Clarion stereo right here. This boat's equipped with the upgraded JL speakers, which is a really nice feature. We have a aux plug right here if you don't want to use the Bluetooth feature. We have a USB plug right here, 2 of them as a matter of fact, if you want to charge your phone. We also have a cell phone charger right here, which is a new feature for 2022. So if you want to charge your phone, pull it out of your pocket, put it right there. It's going to use wireless charging technology to do so. All right. To the right side of that cell phone charger, we have our 12-volt plug with the breaker as well. 2 cup holders, okay, standard on this model. We have a nice glove box right here as well. Tilt helm, how that works is you push down, okay, and that's going to adjust the angle of it. So if you're driving, some guys, well, might not like it that far forward, but you could adjust it in several different positions, whichever is more comfortable for you when you're driving. Okay, we have a control box right here, okay, as well as the key switches. So we have 2 keys, 1 for each motor, and your lanyard goes right here in the middle. Speaking of motors, we have the new Yamaha CL5 touchscreen gauge right here. Okay, it's going to give you all your engine data, your fuel economy, your hours, oil pressure, etc. So a lot of information on that as well. Up top here, we have our glove box, okay, which is a really good spot for like a VHF radio or putting your wallet up there. It's lockable, so if you want to hide your keys up there and just bring that 1 key to lock this area with you home, you can make sure your keys are always on board. 242 has a great leaning post because it has 2 footrests, so I drive when I lean, so I use this a lot, but say you were to sit, I could fold this seat down right here, but I could also have a pretty comfortable seat right here, lean back and be able to have my feet up in a comfortable spot. The head compartment on the 242 is arguably its best feature, okay? Nice forward opening head design, allows for nice deep access, nice wide access, really good storage if you're not even going to use the head compartment, but a lot of our guys enjoy that so they can spend all day on the boat. Okay, so again, we talked about it earlier, we have a freshwater electric head system, okay? It has an 8-gallon holding tank. All right, how that works is you'll see off to the right side of the toilet, there's a button. You can add water by pushing it up, and you can flush by pushing it down. And there's 3 buttons on there: empty, half, and full. That is your holding tank level. Okay, so that way you know exactly how much of that 8 gallons is filled up. I would get in the habit as soon as it's at half, make a note to get it pumped out either by your marina or gas station on the water, things like that. Okay, we have a light off to the starboard side on the console. Okay, to when you're in there using the facilities to use that and see. We also have a window off to the port side to let some air in there and some natural light as well. Like I said, this is a really great storage area if nothing else, if you don't plan on using the head, but a lot of guys end up using the head every time they go out. Thanks to the 8-foot 9-inch beam on the Robalo R242, this bow area is one of the biggest in its class, okay? I mentioned earlier we have 2 live wells on this model, okay? We have one in the stern. Here's our secondary one right here, okay? Nice big lid on it, all right? And I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned that the live wells are on 1 switch, so if you wanted to use one and not the other, there was a little valve you had to shut off. Here's that valve right here. So you can see it's open right now, all right? If I twist it so it's perpendicular to the water coming out, that'll mean it's closed, okay? This is also insulated and doubles as a cooler if you want to use it for a cooler in lieu of a live well, all right? Where I'm sitting under here is a big fish box compartment and or storage area. It's insulated and it's got a drain, okay? But it's really nice and big and deep. The same one's off to the starboard side, so really good storage access on this model as well. Speaking of more storage, under the floor where my feet are right here, is some additional storage. We have a 5-gallon bucket holder under there. We also have plenty of room for like a cast net, maybe some life jackets, or a lot of guys put their cleaning supplies in there as well. Okay, this boat comes standard with the bow filler option. That goes right here where I'm sitting. So how that works is we have to have all these lids open. You'll see right here, the filler piece is going to fit inside this little track right here in each one. And then when you close it in, these kind of nubs right here on each seat, all right, those are what keep the bow filler piece in place. One other last thing I want to talk about in the bow area up here is the backrest, okay? Really great feature on this model, so if you want to sit facing forward while you're cruising or just hanging out, you can. Pretty comfortable backrest. If you want to get into fishing and you want to remove those or you're worried they'll be in the way, super easy to do. You simply just pull this pin right here, slide the whole thing forward, and it pops out and it's done. When it goes time to put it back in, you slide it in the track, pull the pin out, lock it in, and that's it. See, it's in there nice and sturdy. let's focus on the windlass area of the boat. We have our Lumar windlass option right here on my left hand, as you can see. All right, how it works on this model is that the anchor line is going to go in there, okay? It's going to come up through this little notch right here, go through the windlass, out through the pulpit, okay? Now, when you get your desired length and the boat sitting in place, okay, what you want to do is you want to give a little bit of slack on the windlass and tie it off on this cleat right here, all right? The reason you want to do that is because these windlasses are not made to hold the boat in place. All right, they're not made to hold the boat in place while it's wind, the current's moving you, etc. All right, they're strictly made for deploying and or retrieving the anchor. All right, nothing else. So when you're out and you're about and the line's caught and you're good to go, you want to make sure you tie it off of that cleat. Now, when it comes time to retrieve the anchor, you're done for the day. You untie this from the cleat, pull it back in using the remotes here. Okay, so up and down. And you remember earlier I mentioned you can do that from the helm as well. All right, once it's all the way up, you want to use the safety clip right here. All right, reason you want to do that, clip that to the chain, is because if you're accidentally cruising along and you have a non-boater hitting buttons on the dash as you're cruising and you hit the deploy button and your anchor goes out and you hit it, that's a big issue. All right, so you want to make sure you avoid that. It can simply be avoided by simply using this safety clip on the chain when the anchor is all the way up. Last thing I want to touch on today, guys, is the outboards on this 242. Okay, this is powered by twin 150 Yamaha 4-stroke XBs. All right, 150 horsepower each. Independent, obviously, controls up there, which we briefly spoke about. But the main thing I want to talk about is maintenance and break-in procedure. Okay, so on the break-in period for the first 10 hours of use, every 5 minutes you want to vary the throttle speed. All right, basically what that means is if you're cruising at 3,000 RPM, after 10 minutes, bump it up to 3,200 or bump it down to 2,400. It doesn't matter what that increment difference is, but you just don't want to stay at the same RPM for more than 5 minutes, okay? After that 10 hours of break-in, you can run the motor however you want. All right, wide open, you can run it at whatever RPM you want, it doesn't matter, all right? After 20 hours is up, that's when you do a 20-hour check. We recommend doing a gear oil change. You do an engine oil change with an engine oil filter as well. All right, we give it a quick once over, make sure she's good to go. After that, you have 100 hours of maintenance-free worry or at the end of every season. So up here in New England, a lot of our guys don't do 100 hours a year. So at the end of the season, we do your oil change and everything like that. That way, come springtime, when we put the boat back in the water, you have another 100 hours of uninterrupted use. All right. One of the most important things you could do on these motors, besides get them maintained by a Yamaha professional, is flush it out when you're in salt water after every use, all right? How that works is on the left side of each motor, all right, there's this little hose right here, right? So you unscrew that, all right, you see that yellow O-ring, you want to make sure it stays in there. You're going to hook your freshwater hose from your dock up to this right here, all right? Motor is off and tilted up when this happens, all right? So the motor's totally off, it's tilted up when this goes on. You hook the hose onto here, turn it on at your dock, let it run for 5-10 minutes. That gets all the salt water out of there. Make sure you're good to go, all right? When you're done, you shut the freshwater hose off at the dock, unscrew it. You're gonna screw this back on this holder right here, and you're good to go. That's literally all you do, and then you repeat it on the other motor, all right? So motor's off, motor's trimmed up, freshwater's on, 5 to 10 minutes, you're good to go. Thanks for watching our digital delivery on this 2022 Robalo R242. I'm Evan from Atlantic Outboard. Don't forget to check us out online at atlanticoutboard.com.